actually say I'm more feminist than her.
I wouldn't call myself a feminist.
Hi, and welcome to, or back to, my channel where I offer my thoughts and opinions about whatever catches my attention. I'm Kit, and today, per request, we're going to have a look at Pearl and Anna's debate? Humiliation ritual? I'm not really sure what to call this. So, a new channel, Word War Debate, has popped up, and their first debate included Pearl from JustPearlyThings and Anna Kasparian from the Young Turks debating feminism. I haven't seen the debate in full as of writing, but from what I have seen, it didn't look so great for Pearl. But before we have a look, I think we should remember.
This is a silly question. How have you prepared for this debate?
Oh God, I've been preparing for 2 weeks.
Have you?
Yeah. I've really just, I've been researching, like I've been watching her talk. I've been watching a lot of her videos. And I've not only, gathered myself, but some of the most smart, intelligent men that I know to kind of talk about what she could possibly say. And I have answers for all of it, so.
Let's remember that. And while we're here, I'm going to link some commentary videos on this debate because, some people are really funny and good at editing. Anyway, Pearl says this baffling thing. I say as if most of what she says isn't baffling.
You want to give me any insight into what you think she's going to say? What's going to be her main argument, do you think?
A lot of feminists go for personal attacks, so I could see that potentially. I think she is going to talk about how great feminism is and how it's been great for women. And I would agree, it's great for women under 40. But that it switches in the second half of life when all of our consequences line up. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Consequences such as?
Antidepressants, like women getting on antidepressants, debt kind of catching up to us. OnlyFans now you have 15% of women under 25 on OnlyFans, so it's just gonna keep going.
That's crazy, huh?
Yeah.
What a crazy stat that is.
Well, that's if you include like sugar baby sites, to be accurate. OnlyFans, sugar baby, even there's softcore prostitution on Instagram. You're in Miami,
I've heard of these things, perhaps.
They're like everywhere in Miami. Yeah.
As someone over 40, I am so confused. Granted, I haven't experienced menopause as of yet, so who knows how that will affect my mental health, but I have been reading a lot in the past few years in preparation, so I'm hopeful it won't be too bad. But what am I supposed to have done in the past that would have debt and antidepressants catching up to me now? And what does that have to do with feminism? Also, what is her source for this 15% of women under 25 are on OnlyFans claim? Why does no one ever push back when she says ridiculous things like that? And finally, do I think personal attacks are good? Do I recommend them? Do I think they're a good tactic in any situation? No. But I also think someone who is constantly lobbying personal attacks at others can't complain when they receive the same treatment.
What do you think in terms of the personal attacks that you'll get hit with? How have you prepared for those, and what do you think it'll be?
I'll just say let's go back to the topic.
Yeah. Because you don't get personal.
I try not to. I will if I'm pushed to a certain point, but I try not to.
Yeah.
True. Pearl prefers to do personal attacks when she and the other person are both behind computer screens.
Well, I work in men's rights, so
Oh no, ma'am. You do not do shit for men except take their money. Which, to be fair, some men are only too happy to offer in exchange for some ear tickling and ego massaging, but the idea that Pearl Davis is some sort of advocate for men is just insulting to the men and women out there actually doing the work.
I'll give you an insight. There was a comment that she had made during her interview, and she said, I think in reality, I'm actually more of a feminist than Anna is. What do you think about that?
I wouldn't call myself a feminist. I believe in equality among both sexes.
So they're having a debate about feminism and neither person is a feminist? That's a decision that was made.
Feminism, when it's not perverted by all of these other weird externalities, is about giving people choice. If you want to be a career woman, that's great. You should have the opportunity. If you want to be a stay-at-home mom, that's an incredibly difficult and admirable thing to do. You should have the ability to do that. That's what feminism is supposed to be.
I do take issue with someone who wouldn't call themselves a feminist telling us what feminism is about. And no, it's not about choice. It's about liberation. It's about changing norms. It's about everything. And obviously I can't talk about everything in a single video, but I want to share this bit from Serena Kader's Faux Feminism to at least try to convey what I'm talking about. Quote, "The idea that pregnancy is a choice," legal scholar Dorothy Roberts argues, "has functioned to support the criminalization of pregnant Black women who are seen as choosing to endanger fetuses by doing things like taking medication. The idea that feminism is about dreaming big has not had much to say about the dreams of all the nannies and daycare workers who care for the children of women who manage to make it into the corner office. This is not what feminism has to be like, and feminists, especially non-elite ones, have been offering alternative visions for generations. Women of color have been arguing against the choice framing of abortion for decades, largely because we have known that this framing will not give us what we need. We have been denied both abortion access and the right to parent, in ways ranging from coercive sterilization to the separation of moms from their children at the US-Mexico border. Choice was never going to be able to fix those things. Poor and working class women, who are often also women of color, have long resisted the idea that feminism is about getting women into the workforce, since the jobs available to them have never been very liberating anyway. Even elite women have not been terribly well served by the vision of the professional woman as the feminist goal. The loss of abortion rights was a loss for all of us, and even the most privileged women still do more housework." End quote. Feminism isn't about what the individual woman chooses to do with her life. It's about collective liberation. Though, as I understand it, Anna Kasparian is a liberal, so I'm not surprised that's how she would interpret it. On that note,
now when we find out that almost 60% of women say they have mental illness, do you think that has anything to do with feminism and this kind of demonic energy that we all know feminism is, right? Demonic energy. Do you think it has anything to do with them kind of going against their own wiring, basic instincts?
I don't know who that guy is, but what? Listening to the rest of the conversation, I can tell he's just trying to be shocking, and, well, I'm here for the debate, not Gavin and some random man in the middle. I hope they paid Kyla well, and at that, who's bankrolling this thing? This is some high-level production quality for a first go. And, well, I'm not into body language or anything like that, but I find it so interesting how they both enter the stage. Anna is dressed professionally and carries herself with confidence, and Pearl, well, I'm no fashion expert, but she looks so uncomfortable, like she would rather be anywhere else. Anyway, they do their opening remarks and then move on to the debate portion, and, well, I assume what Pearl gets out of this is money and some low level of fame, because if she really cared, she would get the facts right. She wouldn't just collect tragic stories and weaponize them. She would get the facts, do whatever she could to get at the cause, and then do something to help. Pearl has money, she has, God's help us all, influence, she has support, though I guess I'm not really sure how much her audience would support any initiative she tried to set up. She still hasn't reached her goal to fund her divorce documentary, although, is it just me, or is 1 million not what the goal originally was? Yes. In the description, our goal of 100,000. She got halfway there and apparently thought 1 million was possible. She is scamming her audience and they are allowing it. Even worse, they are cheering her on. They would rather hear empty platitudes, they would rather give her money just to hear her shit on women and be played in the process than actually do something about what they, at least theoretically, all agree is a problem. They don't care about men. They just hate women and this is their cover. Okay.
You can minimize men's problems all you want, but I don't think you understand how privileged of a position you're in.
In what way? How am I privileged?
Men are the ones that are on the hook for child support. Men are the ones that are on the hook for alimony. It's easy for you to tell men to just take the risk when you're not in that position.
What Pearl is missing is that, no, it's not men who are on the hook for alimony or child support. Sex has nothing to do with it. If one partner gives up their career, the other partner will be on the hook for alimony. The partner that has custody of the kids gets child support for the kids. And it's like Pearl sees these things. Okay, alimony is only awarded in 10% of divorces, but the majority of recipients are women. Okay, women typically get child custody, so they're usually the ones receiving child support, and instead of asking why, she just assumes it's because the women have done something awful and the men have been taken advantage of. I don't know if those are her real thoughts, or if they're the ones she pretends to have to continue grifting men, and honestly, I don't think it matters. Her audience is content to hear women bad and not anything about how, if you want shared custody, you also have to be an active parent. Because again, even in the 21st century, women still do more childcare. And damn, is Pearl's privilege showing.
How is it sexist if a woman decided to forego a career, decided to be a stay-at-home mother, and the marriage doesn't work out. She has no job. She has no income. So you think it's unfair to get support from her ex-husband so she can raise the kids?
60% of kids under 5 have daycare. Daycare is an option now. You wanted to be men.
Do you know how much daycare costs?
You wanted to be men. Here you have it.
Do you know how much
You
daycare
gotta let her
costs? Do you
answer.
think it's
You're not
free?
letting her answer. Let her answer.
A lot of things are expensive, Anna.
So, according to Pearl, if you marry and you and your spouse agree that you'll quit your job to care for the kids and you eventually divorce, you deserve no support. And I don't just mean alimony. I'm pretty sure Pearl also believes men shouldn't pay child support because women can divorce, therefore, they should be on their own with the kids. And if you can't afford it, well, too damn bad. Shouldn't have divorced then, I guess. Pearl clearly has no idea what it's like to, hell, just find a job in general, let alone after however many years' absence, let alone one that's enough to cover rent, utilities, food, and childcare. And what's really interesting to me is that Pearl assumes men would be fine with letting their ex-wife struggle. And okay, fine, maybe the divorce was acrimonious, but she really thinks men would be okay with letting their kids struggle? Even if we go with the situation Pearl always assumes, the mother is a heinous monster and is keeping the children away from their father for malicious purpose, he's still just fine giving them up and letting them struggle? Men think Pearl is standing up for them, but really, she has a low opinion of them. Of course, she also thinks they all just want to cheat, and women should let them, so...
I want equality. I'm more of a feminist than you, Anna. Because I say if you want to vote, be in selective service. Be on the front lines just like the men are.
I'm a little curious about what Pearl thinks selective service is, but anyway, that is part of the point. Instead of fighting to abolish mandatory registration, Pearl just thinks everyone should have to sign up for it. How does that improve things for men? She also doesn't live in reality. Does Pearl really think that the current American Congress, the current Secretary of War, would be cool with mandating women join the military? The current Secretary of War who has called for a review of women in combat? Of course, in Pearl's world, Roe not only still exists, but all women have easy and affordable access to reproductive health care, so I suppose I shouldn't be surprised by anything she comes up with.
But my biggest gripe with you is you're discouraging people from entering marriages.
I am baffled that this is Anna Kasparian's biggest gripe with Pearl. I would say my biggest gripe with Pearl is, can I really pick just one? I suppose it would be that she misrepresents facts. Actually, she doesn't even bother with facts. She presents anecdotes as data, and that completely circumvents the real issue. For example, Pearl talks about men committing suicide. She mentions it several times, so I assume that is an important issue to her. Why doesn't she volunteer for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention? Or at least fundraise and/or encourage her audience to volunteer for them? Why doesn't she promote men's groups to her audience? There's so many things she could be doing, and she has a large platform. She could make a difference, but instead, she uses men's struggles as a gotcha for women, even when it doesn't make sense.
Do you realize how good you have it in this country?
Absolutely. Best country in the world.
It's good to recognize when one has privilege, but best country in the world? This debate took place in January 2026.
Do you know how many men die every year? Sorry. There are men that die every year to get you crab.
How many women die every year during childbirth?
Not many.
Per the Alaska Department of Fish and Game, quote, between 2000 and 2009, 13 fishermen died per year on average. Between 2010 and 2015, that have fallen to about 7 per year, with 2015 being the first standout with no fatalities. And per the Commonwealth Fund, quote, the pregnancy-related mortality ratio increased by 22.8% between 2000 and 2009 before stabilizing at about 660 deaths a year. That changed between 2019 and 2021 when the number of deaths almost doubled to 1,222, largely because of the COVID-19 pandemic. I understand why Anna came back with that. Pearl's whole thing is that women have it easy, women are bad, women are useless. And apparently in Pearl's world, crab fishing, and she's used this example before with Dr. Rumsick, so I'm pretty sure it's something she's memorized and not something she actually cares about, is more dangerous than giving birth. But I wouldn't expect her to do anything like raising awareness or advocating for more safety measures, which do work, by the way. The fatality rate for crab fishing has fallen a lot since the 80s, because she doesn't actually care. Her bread and butter isn't advocacy, it's grifting.
This country has the highest maternal mortality rate of any developed country, so a lot of women do die as a result of pregnancy and childbirth, yes. This is painful, man. Do you have any other questions for me?
Not right now.
All right.
I was going to say she's not even good at grifting, but she can just stand there and laugh and someone will tell her she's got this, so. This whole thing has been, I'm not even sure how to describe it, but there is something I want to speak about. Anna says that she also used to believe that men got the short end of the stick regarding divorce, but when she looked into the stats and how the workforce is changing, she found her opinions changing. Pearl, of course, disagrees because of the men who write to her show wanting to be fathers. Pearl apparently doesn't realize that her channel courts a specific type of audience, and that those 1,000 interviewees she was mentioning are such a tiny drop in the bucket of the human population that you can't even see it. And no, that doesn't mean what they experienced wasn't real or unfair, but just that it's not the norm. And honestly, I don't think Pearl believes it's the norm either. Anecdotes are just all she has, so she clings to them. But Anna takes the opportunity to mention the Epstein files and asks if they, perhaps, indicate that maybe the courts aren't entirely fair in general and not just towards men. I'm not surprised that no one agrees with her on that, but then the peanut gallery weighed in, left-wing analyst Kyla, independent Sam, and for the right-wing analyst, Gavin McInnes. And I just wonder.
But it's also kind of ridiculous to say that we live in a culture where women don't get treated better than men. Let's be honest here. I have this theory. Men make the rules of business, women make the rules of society, okay? And that's why there's things that women can ask men anything they want in dating, right? How much money you make, what kind of car do you drive, how tall are you? There are things you are absolutely not allowed to ask women.
Sure.
What's your weight? How old are you? What's your body count? Which are all things guys want. So this notion that it's like even Steven is absolutely ridiculous.
I don't swear often, but what the fuck? Men can ask women whatever they want. If they're rude, they might not get another date with that woman, but nothing is going to happen to them. They're not going to be fined, they're not going to be jailed. Hey, what's the leading cause of death for pregnant women? Ah yes, such a blessing to be a woman. There are no words. After Anna brings up the Epstein files, no less. What delusional world are these people living in? Men can't ask women how much they weigh. Oh, shut up.
I don't think
the notion that the courts treat men and women equally is also ridiculous, dude.
I don't think...
How many times have we seen like a man and a woman commit a crime and the guy gets 30 years and the chick gets like 2 weeks in prison? Sure. It happens all
Dude, Lorena
the time.
Bobbitt cut off...
Anna and I wouldn't disagree with any of that, right? Like, I think Anna and myself would both agree that's wrong when that happens. Women get infantilized as a result of sexism all the time, which is what you guys are trying to do to Pearl right now. The reality is that if you watch that,
I'm putting her on a
that was
pedestal.
painful.
So, to be clear, it's wrong for women to be given shorter sentences than men, but putting women on a pedestal is fine. I don't know which guy said that, but he should really interrogate how those two things intersect. But I guess thinking isn't in their wheelhouse.
This is classic Marxism, by the way. Classic Marxism, which is don't believe your eyes, your ears, or the wisdom of your experiences.
I'm not going to say what I'm thinking, but I would like to note that it's entirely possible to have experiences that go against studies. However, when trying to solve for a problem, it's important to have stats so you know what the issue is and what the causes are, so you can figure out what to do about it. And for anyone wondering, yes, those two men do think it's a problem to require Pearl to have studies on hand for her claims. The one in the middle also thinks women commit suicide at a far less greater rate than men, and that the idea they don't die from it more often is BS. And he is wrong. But my source for this is a study, so of course it's wrong? What a weird thing to argue. And yes, both men think Pearl is doing great. And I'm sure it's no surprise that Gavin McInnes is gross.
Women attempt, I think, 8 times more.
Oh my God.
You need to make a baby. You're going to change totally. Next time we do this, you're going to. You will have had a child,
I think Anna's
and you will be serene.
Is dominating.
Pearl tonight was serene.
She was not serene. She was
calm.
stunlocked and terrified.
She was at peace with the world.
And why
Anna
did the
was like a
moderator
little
have to bail her out of
chihuahua.
the debate?
And unsurprisingly, he argues against himself. For context, Kyla is explaining her view as to why women attempt suicide more often, but men complete it more often.
Which means if you ask mom versus dad, what's your kid's teacher's name? Most of the dads don't know because they're busy working all the time, because we've told men that their value to society is fundamentally the income that they bring in.
Because that is their value. Again,
knowing your
that's
teacher's
bad.
name is gay.
I think a man's value
That's for losers.
Okay.
That's a woman's job.
You're acting like that's a bad thing.
Is Gavin drunk? Honest question. But honestly, no one there cares about the men they claim to care about. They're just trying to use men who struggle against women who dare to speak up about women's struggles. But anyway, back to Pearl and Anna.
The future is not going to be great for feminists. You guys are going to get the equality that you're asking for. Men are not going to protect women in the streets. Men are going to stop signing up for the infrastructure jobs. The birth rate's going to keep falling, and the future is going to be bleak.
Setting aside that women are capable of and are also part of infrastructure work, Pearl told Dr. Rumsick that men would never leave their jobs no matter how dangerous they are because they know they need to get done. But apparently they will? It must be great to be Pearl. She's under no obligation to be consistent.
Who's changing the diapers?
Not women,
Who's
not
raising
women,
the children?
Kids.
After
Women aren't
working
having kids, so
all day
women
long.
aren't doing it. Daycare workers now, to be honest. It's not the moms.
So, per Pearl, women aren't having kids, but they're also keeping kids from their fathers. And when women do have kids, though remember, women aren't having kids anymore, daycare, note the vast majority of daycare workers are women, raises them, so women aren't even raising kids anymore. But if women aren't to receive alimony or child support after divorce, without using daycare, how are they supposed to work and take care of the kids? Question: if a father uses daycare for his kids, does that mean he's not raising them? How come it's only women who aren't raising kids when the kids go to daycare? How are there kids in daycare when women aren't having kids anymore? How does daycare still exist in that case? I'm not surprised Pearl doesn't stop to think about what she's saying. She's not paid to think, after all. But how does her audience never question? Do they really hate women so much they accept whatever slop is given to them? Anyway, I don't believe Pearl thinks. She keeps referring to Anna as a feminist, even though Anna said flat out she's not. She also uses women's mental health against them, but she doesn't say the same thing about men's mental health, which is what drives them to commit suicide. Granted, she also doesn't seem to care about how to lower the male suicide rate, despite being a so-called men's advocate. She will whinge about women getting more degrees or making more money than men, but she uses male-dominated industries as some sort of gotcha, and unsurprisingly, discounts female-dominated industries. She also ignores how feminism isn't full steam ahead. There are plenty of people against it and plenty of people who just don't care. A feminist doesn't just snap their fingers and something is equal. It requires work. It requires buy-in. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what women do or don't do. Don't do something, you don't deserve rights. Do something, you're taking something away from men and don't deserve rights. There is no winning with Pearl or her ilk.
Feminists have more political power, voting power, and spending power than any other group. Everybody caters to you.
Pearl is just using feminist to mean women. And that was pretty much it. A whole lot of nothing. I really don't think you can have a debate when one party doesn't live in reality, but it's obvious Sam and Gavin were trying to rage bait while Kylo was attempting to analyze, so I'm really not sure how serious this channel takes itself. Though it did choose two women who are not feminists to debate modern feminism, so... And you know, the question was, did modern feminism empower women or lead them into cultural/relationship decline? And I don't think that was ever even brought up. And that's it for this video. My socials and Patreon are linked below along with sources and resources. I would like to thank everyone for watching through to the end, and of course, I would like to give extra thanks to my patrons. Have a wonderful day, check out a book from the library, and I'll see you in the next one.